And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. It's not unusual to see a football team huddling together in prayer both before and after a football game. However, as assistant football coach Joe Kennedy recently discovered, pulling the guys together for this purpose at the Bremerton School District in Washington State can come at a great risk. The risk of losing your job. And that is precisely what happened to Mr. Kennedy, who has been engaging in a prayer huddle with his teams since 2008. Although somehow this practice only recently became known to the school district. Apparently, the brass running Bremerton schools aren't much for attending their school football games. Nevertheless, Kennedy was ordered to stop the prayers when the district suggested the coach may be violating the federal and state constitutional rights of the students or others. When he failed to do so, the coach was placed on paid leave. Now, keeping in mind that the coach did not require anyone on the football squad to pray along with him, did the school district act properly in punishing the coach, Gail?
Clearly not, and it's absurd. I've been following this issue my entire legal career, and anti-Christians would like you to think that there's only one part of the First Amendment, the Establishment Clause, that prevents the government from establishing a national religion. But there's also a Free Exercise Clause.
That's right.
And this is a perfect example of where someone in his job is able to exercise his religion. It doesn't inconvenience anyone. It doesn't compel anyone to follow his religion. It doesn't have the imprimatur of the government on religion. And yet we cannot, as a society, have religious accommodation for someone. What if a Muslim woman wanted to wear a headscarf to teach a class? That is a religious observation. I would have no problem with that. I think that's fine. And we are a diverse, multicultural society.
How much does this happening on public lands come into play? I mean, there's a case going on, I think it's in Seattle, where Muslims wanted to go into a quiet room in the airport there, a public space, and pray. Because they, a lot of them are taxi drivers and they can't get to their mosque in time. And that has created a legal case. Is that any different than this?
It is very different. It is very different, but I would support that too. I don't think there's any reason why we can't let Americans exercise their religion. That's a fundamental right that we have.
Obviously, you have the right to express your religion, and I'm not an attorney, but I'm also aware of the fact that if you looked at that video footage, he was a leader in a leadership position in a very public place, and I think it was a bit more than expressing something quietly in a corner in a private room where everyone has the opportunity.
Who says he has to do it quietly?
He doesn't.
Well, he's an employee of the school district.
He doesn't give up his First Amendment rights because he's an employee of the school district. That's not what we fought and died for. No, it's not. We can't control that to Sunday mornings.
Okay.
We as religious people can go through our entire life.
So if you're a teacher,
and be able to
let's do another scenario. So if you're a teacher in a classroom and you're paid for by the state, and you suddenly break in the middle of social studies class and you say,
different situation. Actually, I'm going to get into the law a little bit on this, and this is the issue, and it makes it even more focused. We know the Supreme Court has already prohibited school prayer. That happened in a 1962 case. The court later ruled that in a case where a chaplain was broadcasting a prayer over the public address system before a football game, that was not okay because it required everyone at the game to hear it, and that therefore made it a violation of the First Amendment. But in this case, the coach was not forcing anyone to participate. The coach was simply getting down on his knee at the right after he had shaken hands with the opposing counsel.
That's not what he did. Did you see the video? There were 35 people around him.
Wait. That was before they stopped him from doing it.
Right.
Okay.
And he continued to do it.
But wait, he continued to do it, but not that. He was doing it by himself in the middle of the field. So if he's not forcing the kids to participate, and if he's literally doing this by himself, why is that not okay?
He has the right to take that suit to court, and this is something that has been brought to court.
No, but people shouldn't have to take these things to court. That is the whole problem.
Well,
so
if
this
the law is
gentleman
on
was
his
not
side,
fired.
then it
The
should
coach
protect
was
him.
not
He wasn't
fired,
fired.
but
He's
he was
on paid
told he
leave.
couldn't go. But that's a real problem because it makes litigation more difficult because it's harder to show damage. So the school district wants to have it both ways. They want to prohibit his exercise of his religious freedom, but they don't want to have a lawsuit. That's why people have to make sure that they continue to assert their fundamental.
Let me get Joe. Let me get you.
I actually had a question for
Go
Gail.
ahead.
Because I want this clarified. He's not fired.
Right.
But he's relieved of his duties.
Yes.
Which means that he's still on the staff of the school.
Actually, probably just till the end of the year.
Just till the end of the year.
Ends.
However, since he's still working and receiving a paycheck, that prohibits him from if he wanted to open a suit, he can't because he technically wasn't
yes, he
fired.
can.
He can still do it.
It wouldn't
He can and he
prohibit the
is.
suit. It just makes it more difficult because they would say, well, you don't have damages because you are still receiving your paycheck, so you don't have any monetary damages. So it's the worst of both worlds. They don't even have the courage of their convictions.
And your
the school
question
district.
is relevant because not everybody agrees that this was correct. In fact, what do they call I forget the name of the organization, but they are filing a lawsuit.
Liberty
on
Institute.
Liberty Institute on his behalf.
As a former high school player,
So-
state champs, we prayed before every game in a classroom with the minister.
All right. Well, we want to know what you think about this tough question. Should Coach Kennedy have been placed on a paid leave for wanting to pray on the field before and after the game? Let us know. NewsmaxTV.com/comments is the place to go. And when we return, your comments on the air.